Generation K, the disturbing rise of ketamine abuse among young people. Written and read by me, Jane Death, a reporter for File on 4 Investigates. At the urology department of Burnley General Hospital, 26-year-old Ryan, not his real name, is having a drug solution inserted through a catheter, part of his treatment for a condition known as ketamine bladder. This procedure will not completely reverse the damage inflicted by Ryan's previous addiction to the Class B drug, but it will help him manage the symptoms. Ketamine, a powerful horse tranquilizer and anaesthetic, is a licensed drug and can be prescribed medically, but when misused, it can cause serious and sometimes permanent damage to the bladder. The hospital is watching Ryan for signs of kidney failure too. He worries about finding a girlfriend and having children. But he's stoical when he talks about passing blood and having to urinate numerous times a day, although he warns, you could not be a ketamine addict for 30 years, 20 years. You'd die. Ryan is under the care of consultant urologist Haytham Al-Saka, who says he's witnessed a rise in young patients whose bladders have been damaged by ketamine use. Some of them are in their 30s, he says, but most of them are 16 to 24. He adds around half of his young patients end up needing surgery. Other risks from recreational use include liver failure, damage to the urethra, incontinence and impotence. Abigail Wilson, lead clinical pharmacist for national drug and alcohol charity With You, tells me, we've seen young people under the age of 25 who've completely lost control of their bladders, who've had to have surgery, including bladder removal. In and around the town of Burnley, Ryan is far from alone. Lancashire County Council says it's helping a growing number of families affected by ketamine addiction in the Burnley area. According to With You, which runs a ketamine support service for young people aged 11 to 24, the number seeking help across Lancashire increased from 32 in 2018-19 to 123 by the end of 2024. And the area is not unusual. In England, the number of under-18s entering drug treatment who described ketamine as one of their problem substances rose from 335 to 917 between 2020-21 and 2023-24, according to the National Drug Treatment Monitoring System. And an anonymised 2023 survey of more than 13,000 secondary school children from 185 schools across England reported 11% of 15-year-olds had been offered ketamine at some point. The same study conducted for NHS England suggested the use of ketamine among school children had more than doubled in the last decade, from 0.4% in 2013 to 0.9% in 2023. The drug came into the spotlight following the death of Friends actor Matthew Perry, aged 54. A coroner found ketamine had been the primary cause of his death. Doctors and experts subsequently described how the market for the drug in the US has exploded as it has grown in popularity among Hollywood celebrities. Thousands of miles away among ordinary young people in UK towns, ketamine, also known as Special K, Vitamin K or Kit Kat, has also become fashionable. Although highly dangerous, it's often seen as a sociable way to get high, with users buying it in powder form and snorting it. Now, just 11 years after ketamine was reclassified from Class C to Class B, the UK government is seeking expert advice on whether to make ketamine a Class A drug. This would mean anyone supplying it could be handed a life sentence. But some experts are sceptical this would make much of a difference. While ketamine use appears to be on the rise among the young, there is a sharp divide in opinion around what can be done to halt it. One Saturday afternoon in September 2023, the hottest day of the year, a 16-year-old called Preston McNally took ketamine with 3 friends in Burnley. High on the drug, he fell into the Leeds and Liverpool Canal that flows through the town. Preston's friends had also taken the drug and didn't call for help straight away, an inquest was later told. The coroner said Preston drowned due to ketamine intoxication. The inquest also heard he'd told his sister he was trying to quit just before he died. In this former mill town, those on the front line are well aware of the scale of the problem. I met Father Alex Frost from St Matthew's Church in the town, and he said, the amount of mums that have said to me, it's everywhere. It's in the schools, it's in the parks. He now runs a support group for parents of ketamine users. Across Lancashire, recorded offences for possession and supply of ketamine rose by nearly 70%, from 54 in 2023 to 91 in 2024. What we've seen probably within the last 12 months is the upturn in use, particularly around children, says Inspector Matt Plummer of Lancashire Police. He adds, sometimes the parents have no idea. Once, ketamine was known as a party drug associated with the club scene, but there's evidence to suggest that's changed. In a 2024 report into drug trends in Greater Manchester, school-aged children recounted how they used it with friends to chill in local parks or at home. Those who go on to use it away from social settings are often doing it to self-medicate unmet mental health needs, such as anxiety and trauma, according to the author of the report, Professor Robert Ralphs of Manchester Metropolitan University. I met one mother who we're calling Claire. She told me she was oblivious to the fact her 14-year-old daughter Lexi, not her real name, was addicted to ketamine until her daughter ended up in hospital with severe stomach cramps. Lexi, who lives on a neat, well-cared-for street in Burnley, used to love sport and dancing. But after she started secondary school, she says a friend introduced her to ketamine. She told me, I knew it was illegal and that it was a horse tranquilizer, but that's all I knew. I didn't really want to do it, but I just thought, well, everyone else is doing it, and I didn't really want to be the odd one out. One reason that so many young people are gravitating towards ketamine is that they can buy it for pocket money prices. Lexi told me it was really easy to get. In Burnley, friends will chip in for the £15 to £30 it costs for a gram and then share it. To feed her habit, Lexi would ask her mum for a couple of pounds for the bus or some makeup, or sometimes she would steal a £10 note. If Lexi had been coming home drunk or smelling of weed, her mother Claire would have twigged. She told me, I was absolutely gobsmacked when I found out, just distraught, really, thinking, how did I not know? The thing that makes ketamine especially dangerous is that lots of people, particularly young people, wrongly see it as a lower risk drug, according to Abby Wilson of the With You charity. She says that at lower doses it has a similar effect to alcohol, and she explained to me that the effects can wear off from about 40 minutes to just over an hour after taking it. So if you want to keep those effects, then you need to repeat dose, and that means that users' habits can escalate rapidly. That was the case for Aaron, again not his real name, who lives in a small town outside Burnley. He took his first snort of ketamine when he was just 16. He told me, your tolerance goes up extremely quickly, and within the first month you're doing stupid amounts. He says soon he was spending £200 a month on the drug. Abby Wilson from the charity With You tells me how higher doses can lead to a state known as a K-hole, and that's where you become completely detached from reality and sometimes paralysed. And then there's the psychological impact. The charity With You is helping Lexi recover from dependence on the drug, but also trauma and self-harm. Because once, when she was high, she was the victim of a sexual assault. When kids are on ketamine, they are extremely vulnerable. Some of the families of young ketamine addicts that I've met want the drug reclassified as Class A, but this would also mean children caught in possession of ketamine could face up to 7 years in jail rather than 5. Some believe putting ketamine in the same bracket as heroin and cocaine could increase the stigma and make young people less likely to discuss their use of the drug and ask for help. The government is currently seeking expert advice from the Advisory Council on the Misuse of Drugs on whether ketamine should be reclassified. Dame Diana Johnson, the policing minister, said ketamine is an extremely dangerous substance and the recent rise in its use is deeply concerning. It's vital we're responding to all the latest evidence and advice to ensure people's safety, and we will carefully consider the experts' recommendations before making any decision. But Father Alex Frost of St Matthew's Church believes ketamine use is at epidemic levels. He says families tell him the authorities need to do more to help those suffering. In response, Lancashire County Council says it's dedicated to supporting children and young people affected by ketamine use, and that it will continue to work tirelessly to address the challenges posed by ketamine use and provide the necessary support to those in need. But there is scepticism from those on the front line that increased enforcement will solve the issue. When I met Inspector Matt Plummer of Lancashire Police, he told me it's not a case that we can just arrest our way out of the ketamine issue. You could arrest 10 or 15 people a day for the possession of ketamine, but it's not going to change the cycle, particularly with kids. He added that generally children caught with ketamine are given informal words of advice and referred for support rather than charged. And some experts query how effective reclassification would be. It's true that the 2014 shift from Class C to Class B has not prevented a rise in usage among young people. For now, no one knows what the long-term effects will be for children who start taking ketamine aged 12, 13 or 14. The community leaders and the families that I've spoken to say they can't wait for change and that urgent action is needed now to try to prevent more young people suffering. Lexi says she's trying to move forward with her life. Since the doctors at the hospital told her where her life could be heading, she hasn't used ketamine. But getting the drug out of her head is still not easy. She insists she'll never take another dose of ketamine, but tells me the urge is always there for me to do it again. If you've been affected by the issues raised in this article, help and support is available via BBC Action Line. To hear my full report, head to BBC Sounds and search for Generation K, Kids on Ketamine.